Her name was Rosalie Stegall. She was a packer in my father's factory. This was 40 years ago, and Rosalie came to me and said, "I'd like to talk to you." I was the vice president of production at the time, and Rosalie, this packer, said, "Bruce, would you sit down right here?" I sat down, everybody else left for the day, and she looked right into my eyes and she said, "Bruce, I need to talk to you." She said, "Nobody likes you. Nobody likes working for you. You're nothing like your father." Whew. Talk about a punch in the face. I could not believe she was saying this to me. I was very angry, but I'm an engineer, so I did not show any emotion. I thanked her for her comments, and we both went home. That night, I didn't sleep. I was angry. The next night, I didn't sleep. I was defensive. I kept thinking about all the wonderful things I was doing for the company and making it progress and new processes and training people on how to do their jobs right. And she just didn't understand. But by the third night, I couldn't sleep. I started realizing, she's got a point. The employees of my company, of my father's company, they don't like me. They don't like to follow me. And I thought, what does my father have that I do not have? I figured it out. My father inspires. My father inspires people. He finds the things in people that are right and are good. He can come into a department and say, "You all are doing great." Even if I followed behind 10 minutes later with the statistics from last week saying, "You all are off by 3%, you need to pick up your production rate." My father found people doing things right, and he complimented them, he encouraged them. People wanted to do better for him. I found things that people were doing wrong. I suddenly realized that night that I couldn't sleep that I was like this Volkswagen. And I needed to transform. Well, I wish the transformation process had been as fast as that. But my transformation took place over many, many years. I look back now, the transformation of myself and the transformation of the company started with that conversation and those words from Rosalie Stegall. I want to show you the growth curve of the company. I am very proud of that growth curve. That's from 2004 to 2019. And it's the same curve that my growth pattern has followed, my transformation. I really feel like in the early years, before I started getting it and understanding how to motivate people and how to inspire, somewhat like my father, hope someday I'll get as good as my father, I think I was holding the company back. So let's talk about what I changed. What I changed was I became less defensive. Before the Rosalie Stegall punch in the face, I was so defensive. We'd have department meetings and the employees would ask this question: why did the company do A, B, C? And I'll say, "Oh, we did it because of this." I'd spend a half an hour explaining the wisdom to what we did. Now, they come and they ask the same question: why did we do A, B, C? And I go like, "We did?" And from their perspective, it looks stupid. And I realize that from my perspective, now that I have the information that they have, what we did was wrong. And I can actually stand in front of the group and say, "We actually did this. We need to change that policy." I could never have done that back in the early days when I was so defensive. I also am more open-minded. When an idea comes up, we say, "Well, wait a minute, what are the options here? Can we do something?" I know in the years past, a customer would come and ask, "We need this, this, and this in our contract. We need you to change your scope of work. We need you to provide this service." And we would say, no, that just doesn't fit into our bailiwick. We cannot do that. Now we ask the question, what can we do? Maybe the customer's asking for this, but we can give them something that's close to that fits into our bailiwick and something that we can actually handle and handle well. That has made a big difference, because I think we've pushed away a lot of business in years past when we say, no, we can't do this. The other thing I do is I catch people doing things right, and that is so important. If you want people to do better, catch them doing things right and encourage them to do better. So this is a picture of my father in the early days when he was starting the business. And I just want to say that he's the one with the vision, because he started the company. He figured out, what is this company going to do? What service are we going to provide? What is our product going to be? That's the hard part, and getting the company going successfully. When I joined, we had about 30 employees, and I was able to take the company and grow it to 1,000 employees. I'm very proud of that. But my father did the hard part, which is figuring out what to do. You can see me sitting there also, and you can see something else. Not only did I transform my personality and my management style and transform the company, but my hair transformed also. In fact, it transformed right off my head. The main market that we supply is commercial and military aircraft construction. Fighter jets like the F-35, for example, we supply the indirect supplies to manufacture the aircraft. And we do that by not only resharpening cutting tools in our grinding division. In fact, this is a picture of the grinding division. I'm very proud to say we're the largest regrinding company in the world. We have 256,000 square feet full of specialized machinery to be able to serve our customers in the regrinding arena. By the way, that's the portion of the business that my father started originally. When I started transforming the company, one of the major transformations that I executed was to get into the integrated supply business. Integrated supply is where we supply to our customers cutting tools, office supplies, abrasives, test equipment, you name it, all kinds of things that indirectly help support the production of the fighter jet, for example. And we supply all these materials, we own the inventory, we manage it in our warehouses, and we deliver it to the shop floor through vending machines. These vending machines are very much like the candy machines where you get potato chips and candy and all that, but they're much higher level. They are computerized, and they send data back to our servers, and we get all the information about usage, when we have to refill the vending machines, how to bill the customer, and so on and so forth. So we have about 1,200 of these out on the shop floor in all kinds of aerospace manufacturers. We also provide Fod Control services, foreign object damage, where a mechanic gets on an airplane to finish up an installation or finish up building the aircraft. And when he gets on the aircraft, he has to account for what tools he takes on the aircraft, so that when he exits the aircraft at the end of the shift, he can prove that he has gotten every single tool out of that airplane. That's called Fod Control, and the Department of Defense is really big on this right now, because they've had a number of accidents where a brand new fighter jet takes off the first barrel roll that the pilot does, a wrench gets stuck in the controls, and it ends up resulting in a loss of the aircraft. Fortunately, the pilots have always parachuted, but we provide this to the manufacturer so that they can control the Fod Control. So we've really changed our company from a single layer company that resharpened cutting tools, and that's all we did, very narrowly focused, to a company that provides a package of services, including tool management, tool crib staffing, where we actually staff the cribs where all the materials and supplies are. I already talked about cutting tool reconditioning, industrial vending machines, the foam cutting. We do cutting tool inspection and so on. So that has made a big difference in our growth of our company. I'm very proud of the fact that the company has grown, and we've gone from probably in Rosalie's time, we were about $300,000. We now, in 2019, surpassed $650 million. Very proud of that. And when we passed the billion mark, I called the team together and I said, team, look at this. We are now a $500 million. And that is Dr. Evil's. And Dr. Evil and I look a lot alike. We're both bald. At least I have a beard, so I guess I look a little different than he does. But I'm very proud of the fact that we have grown to that point. So people ask me, how did you transform your company from a simple company with regrinding only into a multifaceted business? And I want to tell you how I did that. First of all, I sat down and I put together a thick plan, a notebook full of all my plans, meaning Excel worksheets and documents that put together an exact plan, day by day, year by year, month by month, exactly what milestones we were going to achieve, what developments, what software we needed, what people and expertise we needed, and put together this entire plan. It was very well orchestrated over a full 20-year period. I called it my 20-year plan, and I executed it perfectly. Every single part of that fell into place as the years went on. Now, if you believe that, I'd like to sell you a bridge in Brooklyn. So none of that happened. The business basically grew, and we transformed the business because we were getting killed in the marketplace. Absolutely killed. So many of our regrind customers were hiring local distributors to become their integrated supplier. And the first thing the integrated supplier would do would be to collect up the regrinds, and they'd pick them up and they'd look at them and say, I can either send this to US Tool and get it resharpened and get 10% on a 50-cent tool, or I can throw them away and buy a new tool for $4 and get 10% of a $4 tool. So guess what they did? They threw them away. Our business was dissolving, and so we had to do something. About that time, Northrop Grumman came out with a request for quotation for providing integrated supply services to Northrop Grumman. So Randy Probst, who was my vice president of sales at the time, and myself worked for a month on putting together the most perfect response package we've ever put together. It was insightful, it was wonderful, it was thorough. We sent that package in, responding to the RFQ, and 2 weeks later we got a call from Northrop Grumman and they said, we were not selected. So Randy and I jumped on a commercial aircraft, we flew to California to sit down with the buyer and say, why were we not selected? And he said, well, basically because you don't know what you're doing in integrated supply. And we said, well, yes we do, and we spent an hour trying to convince him otherwise. We didn't succeed. We're coming home, and I turned to Randy and I said, what'd you think about what the buyer said? And he said, well, he didn't get this, and he didn't understand, and he didn't get that. And I said, Randy, the truth is, we don't know what we're doing, and we need to learn, and we need to become real integrated suppliers, and we need to gain that expertise if we're going to serve our customers. So I said to him, you've kind of talked about a distributor, a guy down in Arkansas, I believe it was, who you said understands that the value in regrinding and integrating that to the distribution model is very important to serve the customer. Even though you don't make as much money on the regrinds, you're serving your customer and you're doing the best for your customer. And you said he understood that. What's his name? And he said, Mike Ball. I talked to Mike the next week, and I sat down and had long conversations with him and said, Mike, I recognize the fact that I have to convert my company from a simple regrind company to an integrated supply company. And I said, I don't know how to do that. Can you help me? And Mike said, yes, I can. And he joined the company. He's now our executive vice president of business development, has had a huge impact on getting us into the integrated supply. In fact, the first month that he worked for us, for the company, and joined the team, we went to the ISA, Industrial Supply Association meeting, and all these vendors are coming up to talk to us, and we're kind of the new people on the block. They didn't never heard of us in integrated supply, of course, because we weren't there. We weren't in that space. And Mike would talk to them and convince them that, yes, you need to do business with us. We're going to be strong in the industry. We're really going to go at it, and you want to do business with us and allow us to sell your product and all that. I said to Randy when he's up there talking, I said, Randy, what do we say to these vendors? I don't know. And he said, I have no idea. He said, let's just listen to Mike and see what the story is. So we listened to Mike for a couple hours and finally kind of got the gist of it. But over the years, we've continued to grow. We have now become the largest integrated supplier in the aerospace industry. Very, very proud of that, and very, very exciting. So we continue to transform our company. Technology is a big part of it. One of my favorite things is doing design work. Some of my projects include sorting machines that sort the dull cutting tools. They have robots on them. We're integrating more and more robots into it. We've got to remain competitive. We've got to be efficient and effective. I really love doing that kind of stuff. We're also working very diligently on employee development. We have to recognize the fact that as now, the leaders in our company now today were the production workers of yesterday. And they grew into the leadership positions. And we now look at for the leaders of the future to be those people who are now production employees on the shop floor, and we need to find them and we need to encourage them and train them and grow them into being the leaders of the future. That's what makes companies successful. So that's a very, very important part of our business. I also like working on training videos. We have two individuals. We have one person, Kelly, who does more of the software and receiving and integrated supply type of videos. And these are really sophisticated videos. It takes weeks to put all these together and do it very professionally. I like to work on videos. I put together the more technical ones out in the plant, how this machine works, how you process a cutting tool, how you measure the cutting tool, very intricate technical details, how the software on this machine runs, those kinds of things. And I feel like I'm able to pass down to the next 20 years worth of employees some of the knowledge that they can benefit from for many years. In fact, I made videos, I started doing videos 40 years ago, probably about the Rosalie Stegall time, a little past that, whenever they came out with videotapes. And I would tape myself and do a video, just get the camera going and stand there and talk through it and tell on a whiteboard or whatever. Well, I still go through the plant. I'll go up to somebody and say, hey, did you watch the training video on this? And they'll say, yes, I did. By the way, you had a lot of hair back then. And they're watching one of those old videos from like 25, 30 years ago. The transformation of myself, some people have asked, have you finished transforming yourself? And the answer is no, I'm not finished. All of us need to always be transforming ourselves. We need to be fixing ourselves. We need to adjust. We need to grow. We must always be open to advice. We should be seeking advice. And my goal is someday to move to the level where I can say I inspire people at the same level of as my father. I think I'll get there someday. I'm really close now, but I'd like to get as inspirational as my father. I owe Rosalie a lot for getting me started on this path. I saw Rosalie at a Labor Day picnic about, probably 8 years ago. And I walked up to her and I said, Rosalie, as I've been saying every time I see you, which is about twice a year, I come up and I say, Rosalie, I give her a big hug and say, thank you for what you did for me and for what you did for the company, because you transformed both of us. I didn't use that word back then, but I said, you changed us. You opened my eyes. You opened my heart. You opened my mind. And I want to thank you for that. And she said, well, Bruce, I have to tell you a story. She said, I prayed about whether I should even talk to you or not. I prayed to God what the message should be. I prayed what the word should be. And she said, I want to tell you that the words that I gave to you were from God. And I said, Rosalie, I don't believe that. And I said, I don't believe the words were from him, because I really think that the God that I know would have been a little kinder. So someday you will have an opportunity where somebody comes up and punches you in the face. And if you're defensive and push back, maybe you're not gaining as much as you could if you have an open mind and you're prepared to transform yourself, listen to the guidance from somebody else, and listen to the person who punches you in the face, and see if you also can be a transformer for yourself and for your company.